Well, hello, sports fans, and welcome to this edition of the Randol Mill Pharmacy. Billy Skinner, Lamar Viking football coaches show. I'm Bill Frawley, and with me, as always, of course, Lamar High School athletic director and head coach Billy Skinner. Coach, that's a lot of words to introduce. How are you today?
That is hats off to you for that introduction, because I'm telling you right now, I'd struggle pretty bad with that one. So I'm doing great this morning.
Well, I don't even have it written down in front of me. I'm just hoping I don't mess it up because, Coach, I think we have a streak going like I do with Coach Kino. I don't know that we've ever had to start a show over because of anything. So I,
Oh,
I probably just
hey,
did the sportscaster's jinx
you
right there. But
100% just jinxed us. It's happening this time.
oh well. Oh my gosh. Well, Coach, the heat continues, and it was plenty hot last week. There's potentially cooler temperatures tomorrow, but we'll get to that. Let's go back and look at the scrimmage events from last Friday night. There were some things with JV freshmen in the MAC, and then of course we had the varsity team on the football field at Cravens. And why don't you just share with us what y'all as coaches saw, what you're excited about, what you're working on, those kinds of things.
Lots of things to be excited about. Massive plays for the JV and freshmen, offenses and defenses. There's a staple within our offense that we want run really well from the ninth grade all the way up to the varsity. And to see that play be executed as well as it was starting at that freshman level and seeing it executed well at the JV, seeing it executed well on the varsity. When you have that reminds me of the old school Lamar High School. Eddie Peach staple was right 62. We were going to run right 62 when we were in seventh grade at Shackelford Junior High, and we were going to run right 62 whenever we got to Lamar High School, whether we were freshmen or seniors. So to be able to see that being executed so well for us it's one of those things that, it puts a smile on your face. It was a great event. We actually, and we're not allowed to do it this week, and we can talk about this later on in the show, but we actually hosted the freshmen and JV spectators in the MAC. We had them separated. We had our hurdles up. It was cool. It was really neat to see. And it was just kind of an electric atmosphere, and it was sub-varsity football, but I mean, it was exciting. The fans were into it. The kids were into it. The coaches were into it. So that aspect of it was very cool as well. But lots of really good things happening on Thursday, or I guess we played Friday. Lots of good things happened on Friday.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I'm telling you.
Well, it'll be Thursday this week, and we'll get to that.
Yes.
But you mentioned something that is interesting to me is kind of maybe, I don't know if I'm overstating by saying a refocused or looking back more towards the run game. And I didn't play football at Permian High School, but I spent 3 of my favorite years of life there. And they had what they call the student body right. So that must be a lot like right 62. So,
Yeah.
of course, that was back in the 80s before anyone knew how far a ball could go in the air and be caught and score. So
it sure does look cool when that ball gets up in the air. And we had a couple of those moments last week too. So I think it's important to have a staple, whether it be a run play, a pass, but whatever that is. It's important to have that staple that you can go and hang your hat on whenever things are getting tough. Hey, let's lean back on blank, whatever this play may be, or blank, whatever this coverage may be. So it was neat to see from the lower levels to our upper level of that staple being executed as well as it was.
Well, it makes the offense that much more versatile, and it's got to keep defenses on their toes, wondering, will this be the time that they do something different? Will this be the time that they catch us by surprise?
You know what? One of my all-time favorite stories from Eddie Peach was they were playing a game here at Cravens, and somehow the communication, so the headsets got mixed up, and one of their opponents, one of the coaches, brought it up that, hey, we can hear everything that Lamar's coaches are saying in the headsets. We can hear their play calls. We can do all of that. So the head coach for the opponent brought the official over and said, hey, we can hear through their headsets, and we want to do the honest thing and let them know.
Wow.
And so the official went over to Coach Peach and said, "Hey, just heads up, they can hear everything you're saying on the on the mic, and so they know what play's coming." And he looked them in the face and said, "Well, tell them try to stop it because sometimes you may know it's coming, but you got to
I
line
love
up and you got to stop it." And so that's always stuck with me, and that's why staple plays are staple plays, because sometimes you know it's coming and you better try to stop it.
I don't think I've ever heard that story before, Coach, and that is wonderful. And instead of like, oh, we'll turn their headset off or we'll go without it, no, just try and stop it. You know
Yeah.
what's up. That's a big confidence level. And I see that coming out with you and your coaching staff and the support and buy-in you're getting,
Yeah.
not just year by year, but month by month and game by game. And I'm guessing practice by practice. And there's a confidence level of, there's so many unknowns working with 100 and whatever teenage boys, young men. They're at different stages, but so you're dealing with a lot of variables, but they're buying into what you and your coaching staff are teaching them, telling them, and probably putting them out of their comfort zone at times.
Yeah.
So that confidence, it's got to be playing big time for them.
No doubt. And the discomfort, I think, is two ways, because I ask a lot of our coaches, because in order for someone to trust you, for someone to buy into you, it takes some vulnerability. It takes some, hey, I'm going to let you know who I am just as much as I want to know who you are. And so we try to make sure we're connecting with our kids. We try to make sure we do home visits. We try to make sure that we're having those conversations outside of, hey, you need to make this block. It's hey, what's going on with you at the house? Hey, those kind of things are extremely important to our entire program. And I think that's what creates that trust. That's what creates that buy-in. And then that's what creates that confidence for all of us.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen this week on Thursday.
Yep.
I guess AISD, for some probably good safety security reasons, has said no fans in the MAC if
Yep.
you have to have some indoor stuff.
Right.
And we'll see what the temperatures do. If it stays indoors, it comes back out. Number one, what is the threshold of either temperature and or heat index to be able to come outside for that stuff?
Right. So there's this magic formula that our trainers let us know about. It's called the wet bulb. So a lot of local districts use the wet bulb globe temperature. And basically, all of these formulas go into it, and then it creates this one number. For us, the wet bulb has to remain below 89 degrees for us to be able to go outside. So that doesn't mean it has to be 89 degrees outside, but all of the factors have to equal 89 degrees. Once you get to 90 degrees, you can only be outside with helmets on doing walkthrough tempo. And then once it gets to 92 degrees, everything has to be inside. So we've got the magic number. I know that tomorrow is supposed to be a little bit cooler, so fingers are crossed for that for that strong wind to come in and cool us down to a brisk 89 degrees. That'd be fantastic.
Wet bowl 89 degrees.
Yeah, that's right. A wet bulb 89 degrees.
That sounds like there's a little magic dust and some other things involved.
Hey,
but
way too many numbers for my liking. That's why I love our trainers, Brian and Rachel. They take a very good care of me because they can tell me all those numbers. I just need the one number, and they do a good job of letting me know, hey, this is the number's good or it's not.
Are we indoors or are we outdoors? Yeah. So yeah, well, I'm glad it's not a straight up 89 degrees, because we wouldn't have outdoor football until about November.
Yep, that's
and
right.
then it'd be iffy.
Yep.
All right. So, all right. One question I did have, because you had talked last week before the scrimmage events that you and the Nimitz coaches were talking, and y'all have agreed how to do some things. There's got to be some type of camaraderie is not the word, but cooperation, and just, hey, you're both in there to get something done when you work with the coaches from the other team with a scrimmage type thing as opposed to a game. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Well, one, Coach Small over at Nimitz, he's somebody that I have great admiration for. I think he does a stellar job. His kids, they play with an intensity that is higher than just about anybody else we've faced before. So because of that, he and I, we've had lunch multiple times together. We bounce ideas off of one another, and so there is a great trust between he and I that we can basically steal the NFL model and go out there and do a co-practice together. And that's essentially
Okay.
what it was, is we did what we normally do at a practice. We just did it with an opponent there. And so the big thing for us is just making sure that we have the understanding that that film is for us only. We make sure we don't send that film to anybody else, because again, there's some things that we show one another that we trust one another with that we don't necessarily want to show the world yet. So that's the big part. And you've got to have somebody that you do trust. You got to have somebody that understands that. And they did some things that they didn't want to show yet. So it's, there's definitely, you got to do it with people that you know and you trust, and that's gonna so that, and we have that, so that it's good.
Well, that was the word you used, and I'd forgotten it. So thanks for reminding the co-practice. I like that type of thing. All right. So this week you're going to have a scrimmage, and as we're recording this on Wednesday morning, it'll be Thursday, tomorrow evening, against Richland.
Yes.
What do you expect to do and accomplish at this one? Because this will be your second and final scrimmage situation before you start non-district play.
Right. Well, frankly, I'm excited to just have more of a traditional scrimmage now. You will see actual, what we call play racks, where the offense will go out for 10 plays, and then the first defense will go out for 10 plays, and then second group will go 10 and 8 and 6, and we'll roll through like that before we do a live quarter. What I really, really want to see is, I want to see physicality with our offensive line. I want to see them kind of get their big bodies on people and start moving some people. They have done a great job through the fall camp, and they've gotten better and better. We've got some young guys on that group, so I want to see them kind of push past their comfort level a little bit. So that's one of the things I'm looking for. I'd like to see and continue what we're doing defensively. Those guys are maniacal. I mean, there were some plays this last week against Nimitz that it wasn't our best player in the world, but it was a kid that has a great ball get off, that can get to the quarterback in a hurry. I mean, you saw Ransom Burns getting off the ball quite a bit, getting in the backfield, being very disruptive. Guys like Tevin Booker, who he has had one of the best fall camps of anybody on the team, making extraordinary plays. And so I want to see the defense continue to do what they've been doing, and then I want to see the receivers and the skill group has been extremely impressive this fall. And I want to see them continue to be impressive on the perimeter like they have been. We're going against a Richland team, and we normally don't, and we have not talked a lot about them with our players, but it's a solid squad. They're a group that were 4 rounds deep in the playoffs last year. They're a top 5 team in their division in the North Texas area, and so I'm excited for our kids to see high-level competition before we jump into our season, and get to do it in a controlled environment.
And it's you're talking about this, and it's sort of a step by step, and this may be what I call a reading from the book of Dub, but you had the co-practice type scrimmage. Now you want to see a more physical, more game situation type scrimmage, exchanging series of plays in a live quarter. And did you say at one point y'all are going to do an overtime type situation also?
Yes. So we will we'll do our live quarter, and then as soon as that live quarter is over, we're going to actually go through and do an overtime. And that way our kids kind of get that experience. They understand the rules. And we're actually practicing that today. That's going to be our situation in practice this morning. So, I think there's never too much detail that you can go into with football. There's so many different variables and all of those things. So when Coach Cates at Richland brought it up, I thought, man, that is a great idea. And so we want to take that and run with it.
Speaking of, they'll know what to do, know what the rules are for overtime type situations. I know some things about coin tosses. What would you like to share, if anything, about how coin tosses are handled?
We practice coin tosses, and in fact, after the Super Bowl, we did our football 101. And in our football 101, we practiced a coin toss. We talked about what it looks like. We talked about why we want to do certain things. We talked about an overtime coin flip and what that means and what that process looks like. So, like I said, we really, really enjoy the quote unquote nerdy part of football. And so we we practice those kind of things, and we do that in our spring developmental season, so that our kids don't experience that for the first time when it's happening, and then you're like, oh boy, are we going to be ready for this?
Sure enough. All right. Well, we're hoping for that wet bowl, 89-degree or
Yes.
better on Thursday tomorrow evening.
Yep.
One thing we noticed last time, the sun was just shining brightly on the visitors
Yeah.
stands and sideline. Y'all welcome the players to the Lamar home sideline. The fans
Yep.
came over to the. Will it be different this time because you're getting more of a game type situation and not a co-practice?
Yeah, it'll have to be different. And really,
Okay.
because we're starting at 7:30, the sun should be down far enough to where the entire sideline on both sides will be covered with shade.
Okay.
I just that first scrimmage, I didn't, you don't want to risk it. And you see those kids and those trainers and all of those
Yeah.
people over burning up in the sun. But this next go round, obviously, we'll be separate, and it just makes it cleaner on the sideline. It makes it a lot easier to navigate that, and it's really strange when we did our live quarter against Nimitz, and uh, I'm talking through a situation right next to their head coach, who's also talking to his group about a situation. So that was unique and
Yeah.
not something I want to do again.
Not that you regret it, but don't want to
Yeah.
repeat it. But
That's
yeah,
right.
okay.
That's right. Something
All
I
right.
love trying different things, and we tried it.
We seem to have a pretty good crowd, as I recall, Thursday night at
Yes.
Cravens. And, a lot of people will get up for the big games. Some people are not fair weather fans, whatever. They're there for every game.
Hmm.
Some are there for the road trip, even though they're, local Metroplex for the most part until playoffs. But how important is it to have fans there, even it's, and I don't want to, man, that sounds bad for me to say, even at
Yeah.
scrimmages,
Yep.
but how important is it to have fans, not just the players' families, but people show up?
Yep. It is one of the most important things for our kids and for their psyche. I'll tell you this. As we were scrimmaging against Nimitz last week, I noticed when my family walked up, and I got
Okay.
butterflies when I saw my family. And so
Really?
I am a 38-year-old man who has been doing this for a long time and been in the game for a long time. And it still lights me up to see my people, my family walk in while we're competing. I know that's magnified times 10 for our kids. I know that when their moms and brothers and sisters and dads, when their people are in the stands, it lights them up. It lights them on fire. It encourages them. So it's I know a lot of people think, hey, it's a silly game and all of those things, but it does something to a mindset, and it does something to these young people when they see their families come to the game. So obviously we want to pack the stands. We want excitement. We want the noise. But for me, I want my kids to have that feeling that I get when I see my family come to watch us.
Sounds great. So we mentioned at the beginning of the show this week, we will every week. Randall Mill Pharmacy is our sponsor for the coaches show. They
Mhm.
also sponsor the extra point attempts, whether it's a 2 point or 1 point conversion. That says something about this North Arlington community. They're one example, a big example. And I know you've mentioned this before, but this is a North Arlington environment, community,
Mhm.
gaining support, pulling for Lamar, showing up, supporting. Anything you want to add on about that?
That's kind of our rally. I don't want to call it a rallying cry, but that's
Yeah.
the North Side. That's been something that we've kind of rallied around as a program, as a school, as a community. And so, we just unveiled our new alternate uniforms, our City Connects, if you will, which
Okay.
are black uniforms, and it's got North Side written across the chest. And when our kids saw that, and when our community saw that, when our teachers and faculty and administrative, when everybody saw that, I mean, you get chills thinking about it. And so it's something that there's a lot of history, there's a lot of pride on this side of town. And the fact that it's embodied here at Lamar High School, and our kids see that and they feel that, whether they've lived here since they were kindergartners or whether they just moved in here a month ago, they know something special is happening on this side of town.
Well, and speaking of that, I've moved to North Arlington in 1993.
Mhm.
And so I've been living in North Arlington for now, if I do the math correct, 31 years.
Yep.
And it's been interesting. And I love the diversification of this whole north side and of Lamar High School, the
Yep.
student body, the athletic teams, the teachers, everything. And I think that again says something about it's a community. It's not just
Yes.
one group, this group, that group, whatever. It truly is a melting pot community. And I think that's wonderful.
It's one of my favorite things about this place.
So, all right. Booster Club, anything you want to say?
You know what? They've been crushing it as usual. We always need extra help, and I've been putting things on Sports U. We're gonna need people helping to sign up for Spirit Wear and all of those good things, but we'll make sure we get all of that stuff posted. We've got our Booster Club board meeting this Sunday, and so any parents that want to be involved, heavily involved in the Booster Club, y'all come check out one of our Booster Club board meetings. You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Garrett Carey. We'd love to have you in there, and so you can kind of see what the inside of it looks like. And we really we work well together, and just so blessed to have that group.
And keep bringing that Gatorade, Powerade, Sports Aid, oh,
All
whatever
of them,
brand you want to call it.
all of them.
All right.
Hey, that I when we pulled out those Gatorades after the scrimmage on Friday, I mean, those freshmen, that's their first experience with it, and they're like, wait, we get this whole 20-ounce bottle is mine. Like, yeah, that's yours, buddy. Take that and go. Had to remind him only one though, only grab one. But yeah. So please keep the Gatorade or power drinks coming to us, because
All right.
they definitely get torn up.
Sounds great. Well, Coach, I'm looking forward to being up there tomorrow evening, watching what we can and seeing what we see.
Yes.
Hopefully that wet bowl temperature 89 happens so everything's outdoors.
Yes.
Um, anything else you want to add before we close off?
No, I'm excited to get back to work. It's that time.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Bill Frawley with Lamar High School Athletic Director and head football coach Billy Skinner for the Randall Mill Pharmacy Coaches Show saying VFND.
VFND.